Welcome to Crafty Beach. I have a fun back to school tier tray for you today. But first, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the bell to be notified when I post new videos, and you know a thumbs up is always appreciated. Okay, I thought back to school would be perfect for my tier tray by my front door. So I want to try to build a school bus. I couldn't really find a school bus at the Dollar Tree or anywhere reasonable, so I thought, hey, I'll build one. So I'm using one of those wood boxes from the Dollar Tree and some of those little mini Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree as well. And I'm trying to build like an engine area, like a hood area for a bus. The box is the main structure of a bus, but it does need like a little bump out area, I think, there for the front of the bus. And so that's what I'm trying to build. So I just used hot glue to attach those on there. And then I'm just using some jumbo popsicle sticks to try to make a hood area. So it's pretty lightweight. I think hot glue is going to be fine to hold this together. And I'm just using some of those mini Jenga blocks to try to make the hood area sloped. And I'm just using hot glue to attach. And I'm just kind of putting them on there how I think it's going to fit. And I get it on there, and I found that it was just a little too high where I end up putting it on there. There's not really enough room for a windshield. So I do readjust here in just a minute. But this is how I kind of constructed that. You can kind of see I had two going one way, one going another way, one going another way, kind of have them stacked up. And here's where I flipped that over. And then I decided to trim that top one, the hood one, just a little bit to make it fit a little better. I love these mini Jenga blocks because they're so great for like building stuff like that. They're small, they're flexible, and there I just trimmed it so I could get a perfect fit for my hood area. And you'll see there's a little dump truck there. I plan to use the wheels off that. That's from the Dollar Tree as well. And I've used those before to make a little red wagon for the 4th of July, and they worked great because it made like a functional piece. And I want my school bus to be a functional piece as well. So I'm just using hot glue to get that attached and sanding off any extra glue or rough edges. Now, once I have it on there, I just kind of need to cover the sides. So I'm going to use those same jumbo popsicle sticks, and I'm going to kind of put it on there and just trim it to size. It's going to be kind of a weird shape. It's squarish on the bottom, but then it's going to be slanted at the top. So I just put it on there, use a pen, and I love constructing with the popsicle sticks as well because they're so easy to cut with just a pair of scissors. So once I get that the way I like it, I go ahead and draw the pattern onto another popsicle stick and cut out the pattern. And I have a side cover for each side. Now, you know, a bus is very rectangular, so the box is a perfect shape for a bus. This is one of the closed-sided ones where it just has the grooves. A lot of people use these to make like the stacked books. And I don't have to worry about the opening on the front because I just covered it with my hood area. Now, I found I needed something to glue the side panel to. And so I tried using some of those little wood puzzlers. I did find they were a little too big, so I'm using just the little wood cubes from the craft section at the Dollar Tree, and that fit in there perfectly. I decided that stuck out a little bit too far, so I'm replacing this side with one of those wood cubes as well, and then just using a little hot glue to attach, and it fits perfectly to form our bus shape. Now, I don't want all of those crazy seams everywhere. I want it to be more seamless. So I'm just using some masking tape from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going around. I was kind of thinking, you know, paper mache effect using masking tape. And so I just go around and around. I'm trying to have like clean seams, so I use scissors to cut it. And I also did it at a corner. And I want to cover like the the hood area here too, where I had like multiple popsicle sticks, just to try to make it look better once I do paint my school bus. And I found a lot of items for this back to school tier tray at Dollar Tree, a couple of them at Dollar Spot from Target, but the only school bus I could find was like from the toy department at Target, and it was like crazy expensive, like $8 or $10. And I'm like, no way, I'll build a school bus. And I'm so glad I did, because this project was so much fun. So again, just covering all those seams with masking tape. And then you can actually sand that masking tape too to make it like smooth and give yourself a good surface to paint. I also used a little strip there to cover that hole on the back of the box. And I'm also using it to cover where I constructed the hood area there in the front, so that I have a more finished piece and I have an area where I can paint there at the bottom. And it's going to give us a prettier little school bus. So I'm just preparing it for painting, just using my little sanding block from the Dollar Tree to make sure all my tape is down and smooth. And I'm going to use some of this chalk paint by Waverly. I think the color is called Maze. And I picked this up at Walmart. And I love this color of yellow. And I think it's a perfect color for a school bus. It's not too bright and obnoxious. It really reminds me of a school bus color. And so I am going all over with a coat of that chalk paint to paint our little school bus. This project was so much fun. I had so much fun creating that little red wagon from back in June, I think, that I did for the 4th of July. And so many of you guys loved it that the next time I saw one of these dump trucks at the Dollar Tree, I picked it up because I was like, who knows, maybe I'll make another vehicle someday. So I'm so glad I did, because this school bus project is too fun. So I'm just trying to get a good coat of that yellow chalk paint. And it dries super quick, especially with my heat gun there. And I was thinking about like maybe using my Cricut to decorate my school bus, but I actually didn't need it. I had a lot of fun putting this piece together, and it was really pretty simple once you get past the construction phase here. And I did have a little split corner on that wood box. And so I was just using just a little dab of wood glue to secure that, because I don't want that splitting anymore. And I'm just going over it again, make sure that I have a good base coat of the yellow, and so that I can decorate my school bus. Now, what I found is when I was painting this, you'll remember that I used the masking tape on that bottom row and on my hood area and everywhere that I had the seams to cover. Now, it really did give me like a really cool paper mache effect. It kind of wrinkled a little bit when I applied the paint to the masking tape. And I liked it. It looked cool. It looked very paper mache-like. And then I found that that kind of contrasted against the smooth wood that I painted that was all smooth. And I liked that extra detail, that texture. So I do get it all painted here. And then I realized that I like the textured part way more than I like the smooth part. So I do go in here and cover all of it with masking tape. That way that I get like a really consistent texture to my little school bus. And I am just sanding up any of the stray corners. I kind of want the corners not to be super sharp, and I don't want any like little splinters of wood sticking out. And here I am. So I just went and did the middle section. The sections of that box are about the same exact width of like a regular thing of masking tape. And then I'm doing the top section as well. And just like I did before, I'm just using scissors to cut, kind of doing the seams on the corners where you won't be able to see it. And I really liked the texture, so I'm even doing the top. And I know, yes, I just painted it yellow, but you know, sometimes projects evolve once you start working on them. And so I'm just getting that down and sanded, and then one coat is all it's going to take of that chalk paint to cover up that masking tape. And now I have a constant texture all over the project, and I really like how this turned out better. It definitely doesn't look like a wood box. So once I get that paint on there, I am just drying it with my heat gun. And what I'll need to do next is decorate it. So a school bus has like the side windows. It has a windshield. It has a door. So those are areas that I will need to create for this. But first, see the little grooves that were on the side? I'm just using a straight edge and kind of pushing my masking tape down into those grooves and cutting through there so that I can get to those again, because I kind of covered them up with my masking tape. Because you know how a school bus has the two black lines that go down the side of the school bus? I'm going to try to recreate that with just one of these black paint pens. I picked up these paint pens on Amazon Amazon Prime Day, and I love them. There's so many colors, and they work fantastic. I will post a link below if you need some paint pens. It's so great having a huge selection of colors. So I just color in those grooves. Now on the back of these little boxes, they don't have the grooves. And so I do just use a ruler to try to connect the grooves on each side on the back here. And then just follow that around. And the only trouble was trying to get that paint all the way down in the little grooves. My tip was a little larger than the groove. So I go over it a couple times until I get a solid black line. And just giving that a quick dry. I'm kind of going by memory of what a school bus looks like. I did have a little bleeding there on the back. The ruler method and the paint pens never works for me. I should have known better. But I didn't think I could do a straight line. So just getting that touched up. And I thought about putting the word school bus down the side. But then I thought about, most schools actually have the school name. So that's what I end up doing. But first, I'm going to work on the door. So this is one of those little wood dominoes from the toy section at Dollar Tree. And they're wood on the back. And I love them for little projects like this. They're like a bigger square popsicle stick. So I thought glass would be bluish. So I'm using, I think the color on this is Pool. It's another chalk paint by Waverly. And then I'm just using that same black paint pen to draw my little door on to give me a little bus door for the side. And this is going to give me a little 3D effect, and it's kind of easier to paint than painting over the yellow that I've already done with that light color of blue. I thought it would be fun to attach the door that way. Now I'm also going to need windows, and so I am painting some of these popsicle sticks. These are the smaller ones, that same color of blue. And I'm kind of doing the slanted lines effect there to give me a glass look. And then I cut another one for the windshield. So I'm going to paint that blue as well. And I thought I would have little windows to go down the side of the bus. And that should take care of most of our glasses. So this is going to be the windshield. And so like before, I'm just tracing around the edges, putting some little slanted lines on there to make it look like glass, and attaching that to the front of our bus with just a little bit of hot glue. I love using popsicle sticks because, again, they're easy to cut, they're easy to work with and craft. And so I got my door attached with hot glue, and now I'm just cutting out some little squares for the little bus windows on the side. So I go ahead and cut out as many as I can out of that first popsicle stick. And to make them look consistent with the door and the windshield, I am just tracing around the edges with that black paint pen. And I don't really do the lines on these. They're a little small. I didn't think they really needed that much detail. So I was able to get 6 of them out of that one popsicle stick. And I am just attaching those with hot glue. I kind of did the center one there first just to kind of evenly space out our little bus windows. And then I hot glued them down. I had a little blue paint there I must have got on there, so I was just touching that side up. Don't do that part. And I am just going to hot glue the windows on the other side of our bus as well. Now, this side does not have the little sliding bus doors, so it does need another window. So I did have that other popsicle stick that I had painted blue, and I just cut out another square and did black paint around it and glued that on to this side of the bus. And so one of the best things about making your own projects is you can make it your own. So I'm putting my son's school name on the side of it. You can totally do whatever you want. You could do your school name. And then I need a stop sign. So I'm just using another one of those wood dominoes, and I tried to cut it into an octagon shape. And I'm going to go ahead and paint his school name here on the other side of the bus as well. I had so much fun putting the school bus together. I hope you enjoy it or are inspired to make one for yourself. This would even be a great toy for a child. And kind of like figuring out, I'm like, what does a bus have? It has like an emergency like hatch on the back, which I think is bigger than that, but I'd already done the stripes back there, so I kind of went with it. And then I'm like, oh, well, I need some windows on the back, but I don't really want it to look like a windshield because this is the back of the bus. So I just did 2 more of those square windows with that leftover blue popsicle stick, and I am tracing the edges with the black paint. And then I want some headlights for the front. I got some of these little glass gems, I think they're called, from the Dollar Tree. And they have different colors, but I thought these like smoky gray ones would make really cute like headlights for my bus. And I'm just drawing a grill on with that black paint pen and touching up any of the other black paint. Now here is that octagon that I tried to cut out. I decided that it didn't really look like an octagon, so I'm trimming it. What I did was do a square, and then I cut off all the corners, which is an octagon shape, but it wasn't very even. But the great thing about these little dominoes is they're easy to cut, so I just kind of cut it until I got it reasonably to the right shape of a stop sign. And I am painting that crimson red chalk paint by Waverly for a little stop sign for the side. Okay, ready to attach. Those are the back windows that we just made. And I'm just gluing those onto the back of the bus. And I'm just going to use one of those red paint pens from that same set and draw on some taillights. Just really simple, abstract, because my whole bus is kind of like that. I didn't really leave room to do the little red flashing lights at the top of the school bus, so I just kind of drew those on the top corners. And just attaching our little gems for headlights on the front with just a little bit of hot glue. And here's our stop sign. I went ahead and hot glued it onto the side before I painted it. I thought it would be easier than it moving all around. And I'm using a white paint pen from that same set to write the word stop. Just easy block letters and the little white border for the side of our stop sign. Okay, it's time to think about wheels. So this is one of those dump trucks from the Dollar Tree, and they have these great plastic wheels that are perfect for this because they fit on the little dowels from the craft section at the Dollar Tree perfectly. Now, I found this last time. 2 of them are easy to get off and 2 of them are hard. So I broke the plastic off inside the axle on 2 of them, and I just peeled that off with some pliers. And they fit on those little dowels perfectly. And then I like to use some of these little rubber bands from the Dollar Tree. I get these like at the hair section, and you get a million of them. And that will be perfect to hold the wheels on and give them a little flexibility. Using my little miter cutters there to cut my dowels down. And I'm just using a little hot glue to attach my back axle for my wheels. Now this one didn't have a lot of room to secure it, so I just kind of had to secure it to the sides. Now in the front, I have that little hood area that I built up, so I have a lot of room to hot glue that one on. So that one was easier probably to attach. So I'm going to use just a little bit more hot glue to make sure that back axle stays on. And all you do is slide on your little wheels. Now the rubber bands were the tricky part on this for me because I'm thinking maybe I should have left the axles a little longer and then tripped them once I was done, because I cut them exactly the right size and I did struggle to get the little rubber bands on there. I find those little tiny rubber bands, if you wrap it around 3 times, it gave you about the right tension to keep it on there. And I find that works really good. It kind of acts like a pin, like if you were to attach a wheel. I didn't want to use hot glue or anything because I want the wheels to be functional so that you can like drive the bus around. I think it makes it cuter when it's an actual real school bus. So I struggle a little bit, but I get them all on and get all of my rubber bands attached. And that is the last step in our school bus project for our tier tray. I absolutely love how this bus turned out. I think it's super cute. Zoom, zoom. Okay, up next, I found this desk and this chair at the toy department at my Dollar Tree, and I thought that would be perfect for a back-to-school tier tray. Now, normally I would stain this with antique wax. You know I would. But I'm using a wood tier tray, and so I thought it would blend in too much. So I decided just to leave it natural wood. Easy peasy. But then I was like, it needs some stuff for the desk, right? So I'm using another one of those dominoes from the Dollar Tree. And I am cutting out 2 rectangles the same size. And I am going to put them together like that to make a laptop. I think most of our kids go to school with the computer versus a notebook and books more. So I thought that would be more fitting. I'm using some of this chalk paint and ink by Waverly. And I am painting our little dominoes black to make a little laptop. Now the bottom of the laptop is going to be glued to my desk, so I only have to paint one side of that one. But the other one, I will need to paint the back because I'm going to have my laptop open. And I'm just painting over that paper that was on the domino. It's a little harder to cover than the raw wood, so I did have to use 2 coats of the chalk paint to get a solid black surface for the back of our laptop. And I did think about painting this, but I really kind of liked that raw wood. That kind of reminded me of more like what a school desk would look like anyway, versus if I were to do a color. So I'm just using a dot of hot glue to attach our laptop bottom. And then I'm just going to do a little string of hot glue on the back and angling up the laptop to make it look like a laptop that is open. And really the hot glue held that just fine. It held it right where I wanted it. Now I want it to look like a keyboard. So I'm using just a silver paint pen from that set. And I'm just doing dots and rows to make it kind of look like buttons for a keyboard. And you can kind of see the raw edges of the dominoes. So I'm going over those with that silver too, just to give like a metallic kind of look to our laptop and make it look a little bit more finished. Got a little bit there on my wood. And then I just draw a rectangle on the back part to make that kind of look like a computer screen. And we have our laptop. Easy peasy. Now, I thought we probably do need some books. And so I'm just using another one of those dominoes and just cutting some rectangles until I'm happy with them, trying to get them square. And I didn't really want them to be the same size because I kind of wanted to stack them. So once I get them the way I like them, I am just going to paint those 2 different colors. I end up going with crimson, or actually I ended up using my paint pens because they were so small. So I'm just using my red paint pen. I'm going to make a red notebook and my blue paint pen to make a blue book. I tried to use I used a lot of yellow and red for this tier tray and a little bit of blue. I thought those were fun colors that kind of reminded me of school. Primary colors, right? So I just stacked my smaller one on top of my bigger one and attached them all together with a little bit of hot glue, and they are glued down to the surface of our desk. Then I thought I need one more thing. How about a pencil? That might be fun to make. So I'm using one of those little skewers from the Dollar Tree, and I just cut off the pointy end, but it was a little too pointy, so I do trim it a little bit with my scissors. to make it look like a tiny pencil. And I'm using one of those yellow paint pens from that set to paint our pencil yellow. Once I get that dry, I do go in with a black paint pen and just do the little tip where the lead would be. And then for the final touch, I do a little bit of pink on the end for an eraser. And we have our little pencil for our desk, and I'm just going to use a tiny drop of hot glue to attach that pencil to our desk, and that project is finished. Okay, this one was super easy. I got this, the back to school section at Target right now, and it is a pencil case, but it looks like a giant pencil. So I thought that would be really fun for a tier tray, but I thought it needed a little bit of detail. So I'm just using a black paint pen and putting number 2 on there, like a number 2 pencil. And I thought about stuffing this, but it didn't really need it. It kind of kept its structure. It's kind of made out of like a soft plastic. And I do another coat of paint over that to make that stand out a little bit better and give that a dry. And that's all I'm going to do for that pencil. Super easy. Okay, this is one of those little chalkboard easels from the Dollar Tree. And I thought that reminded me of school, right? Because it's a chalkboard. Now, normally I would use like one of those white chalk pens from the Dollar Tree to write on here. That way it would be erasable. But I have a house full of guests, so my office is also my guest room. And they were sleeping while I was making this last night. And so I didn't have access to my chalk. So I just use a white paint pen. And I just write back to school on there, something easy. Then I decided I liked to have a little bit of a border. So I do kind of go around and just draw a white border on there as well. And I kind of just get it filled in, and I think that is all the blackboard needs. I think that's basic, and it works as our back to school sign too for our tier tray. Now this, I thought I could make a globe. I found this toy ball at the Dollar Tree, and it looks like a globe, right? But I just needed to make a stand of some kind. So what I'm using is one of those little dowels from the Dollar Tree. Actually, it's a skewer, I'm sorry. And a foam block from the Dollar Tree. Now that foam block is one of those smaller ones. I had previously painted it ivory with chalk paint and didn't need it for a project, so I kind of already had it painted. But I thought I could make like a spinny globe like that just by piercing the little foam earth ball from the Dollar Tree, and I can make a little globe, right? So I just really wanted this project to be super simple. And that's the reason I used the foam block, because I wanted something that I could stab without having to drill a hole or anything into a wood block. But then I thought this ivory chalk paint looked really plain. So I'm going in there with one of those gold chalk markers from the Dollar Tree and just doing like a border along all the edges just to make it look like a little fancier, like maybe like a globe stand would look. I really kind of wanted like a circular base, but I couldn't really figure out anything that I could use that would be quick and easy for that. So the block it is. And then I just use that same marker, just write geography on there and some squiggly lines. And then I'm also using it to paint my skewer gold too, to kind of tie it into my little globe stand. And I love how this turned out. It's so simple and easy. Now these I got at Target Dollar Spot for $1, and they are crayon erasers. They have them right now at my Target Dollar Spot, and I'm not going to do anything to them. I think they're perfect for back to school. They look like little crayons. I think I can get them to stand up, and they come in a variety of colors, and there are 6 of them. So I'm going to use those as filler there for my tier tray. Easy, easy. Okay, this is a thrift flip. I picked this up at my Goodwill store for 99 cents. And it is great. It's old. It's weathered. Looks like it's been used by a teacher. And it's perfect. It looks like rulers, says pens and pencils and things. And I thought that would be a fun idea for like a little planter for my tier tray. So I'm just using some of that floral foam from the Dollar Tree and cutting it to size. I'm not going to hot glue it down because I don't want to ruin this piece because it is a great piece. And I will want to either donate it or reuse it later. And so I don't want to ruin it. I just want to temporarily use it as a planter. I don't want to see that foam though, so I'm covering it with some of that reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree, just so you don't see it. And then since I'm using a lot of yellows and reds for my tier tray, I'm just going to use some of these red carnations that I had left over from a project from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to cut those with my little floral scissors and just kind of randomly fill up the little pencil box. Now, I thought about just putting pencils or pens in this. I thought it might be a little plain. And again, I couldn't get in my office. So I like the idea of making it into a planter. It gave me a nice pop of red and a little bit of fun flowers for my tier tray. And I'm just going to go ahead and use all of them. Just fill up my box. And easy thrift flip. Then I decide I want a little color, so I do go ahead and just kind of tuck in those leaves that were left over from the carnations, just to give a little pop of red and green. That kind of reminds me of an apple, like the one that is on the front of that little pencil box. Okay, that's all there is to that thrift flip. Now, this I got at the Target dollar spot too. It is actually body wash. And it was $1, but it looks like a giant red crayon. So I thought that would be a fun filler. And then I'm also just going to throw a bottle of school glue on there. I kind of wanted to use Elmer's, but I'm cheap, so all I had was the Target brand, but it will work. Now, the top of my tier tray has like kind of a hook area at the top, and I kind of wanted a little bow or something to put on there. So I'm going to use one of these little chalkboards from the Dollar Tree with the little clothespin on the back. And some of this ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It's very colorful. I think this is the llama line. And I am just going to do just a super simple bow, just to give a little texture of ribbon and a little something to put on that top ring of my tier tray, just to give it a little back to school feel. When I tie it off, it's kind of white in the middle, but it doesn't matter because that's the back of the ribbon. Because I'm going to clip on that little blackboard that we made that I wrote ABC on with just a white paint pen. And that is all there is to it, just simple. Now, this is just like that chalkboard, but this is the dry erase version from the Dollar Tree. And that reminds me of back to school too, because they use dry erase boards a lot in school. Now, I did not have access to my office because everybody was sleeping last night. So I didn't have my dry erase marker, so I just used a paint pen. And just put some math equations on here. I was just trying to fill it up, so I tried to do some up and down, some sideways, just some basic math, like somebody's working out some basic math problems on a whiteboard. And that is all there is to it, with just a little red paint pen. And that project is complete. Okay, let's put it together. This is my 2-tier tray that I got on Amazon. I love it. I'll post a link for it as well. And let's start building from the bottom. Now, my glue is not very fancy. I'm just going to kind of hide that one in the back. Kind of a filler. You can kind of see it. And here is my globe. I'm going to kind of put that over on the side where it can kind of peek out on the side. And then I'm going to use this little whiteboard on the back. I know you're not going to be able to see it from the front, so I kind of turned it to the side so you can see it from the left side of my tier tray, like that. I like to have my tier trays filled and where you can kind of see something different from every side. So like you see, I completely blocked that with that little flower arrangement. But on the left side of the tier tray, you can still see that whiteboard. And there is my favorite project, the school bus. And you can kind of see the glow peeking out over the top of that. And I love that school bus. I'm so glad I made it. Oh my gosh. And then there's that little body wash. I'm just going to have that kind of poking out at the side just to give me a giant crayon feel and a little bit more back to school on the bottom of my tier tray. And we're ready to decorate the top of the tier tray. And for this, I have my giant pencil, which was that pencil bag from Target. I can't remember how much that was. I think it was like $2 or $3 maybe. And here is the little blackboard that I wrote back to school on. It kind of fits perfectly up there. I'm going to raise my camera because I realized you could not see the top of that pencil. And just trying to, that fits in there like just barely, but I think it'll be okay. And then up next, we have our little desk. And this was made out of that doll furniture from the Dollar Tree, the little desk and the chair, and we customized it with a laptop, books, and even a pencil. So super cute. And last up, we have our crayons. Now, these were the erasers from the Target dollar spot for $1, and I'm just going to kind of stand them. They're pretty sturdy little erasers. And they'll be fun for my son to use afterwards as well as erasers. So they'll be functional. And then the last little detail is that ring there at the top. I thought it needed just a little something. And we made the little blackboard bow. And I am just going to clip that on the little ring with the little clothespin that's on the back of the blackboard. And it gives us just a little blackboard touch with a little bit of ribbon. So that's it, guys. That's our back to school tier tray. I really hope you enjoyed it. And this is how it turned out. We have our pencil, we have our crayons, we have our adorable little desk, our back to school blackboard, our school bus with our globe that we made, all using Dollar Tree things, a little bit of school glue back there, our little thrift flip pens, pencils, and things box that I got at Goodwill, filled with some red flowers, a little dry erase board, a giant red crayon that's a body wash from the dollar spot at Target. And I think it's so much fun. And my son really enjoyed it. He thought it was super fun for back to school and a fun little treat when you first come in on the entryway of my house. What do you guys think? What was your favorite project? Mine was definitely the school bus. I really love that. I hope you liked this. If you did, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, everybody. Bye.